Friday's here. It's Friday afternoon, and the two Revs are in the house. Hey, Rev Tony.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Nick. How are you, my friends?
Loving the day, living the dream, tripping the light. Fantastic. Good to see you, my friend.
Fabulous. Yeah. Good to see everybody. It's good to be back after we had a week off. Sorry if you can hear the kettle boiling. We've literally just walked into the caravan, so I've chucked my laptop on, and bless him, Jason's making me a coffee as we speak.
Absolutely, yes. I'd be honest with you, I can vouch for that. I literally saw him walking in the caravan at 2 minutes to, bless his cotton socks.
Yeah.
So, yes, you have arrived. You're on time. You made it.
Yes, we're here. So, yes, it's good to be back, and it's good to see so many people joining already. We've got Debbie, and somebody called Nick Brown saying Chuck Way to.
It was supposed to be Chuck Watto from Star Wars, but it didn't quite work out right. But there we go. So yeah, hi Debbie. Let's bring the comments up. We won't bring my bad spelling up, but hey Debbie, good to see you again, my sweet. Oh, we had a lovely chat on Wednesday. If you have missed it, it's in YouTube. I'll share a link. But we had a lovely chat. I think we should bring her on here and have a word because we'd have some fun, Tony.
That sounds good. That sounds good to me.
Of course, we've jumped all the way from the west coast of America all the way up to Scotland with Karen. Hello, my darling.
Oh, hello, Karen. I hope you're well. I didn't realize it was you with the name change.
Yeah, it's Kaza. We've got Dawny jumping down to Essex, not too far from me on the grand scheme of things compared to the other.
No, it's compared to everything else, yeah.
Even closer, in fact. The lovely Trace. Hello to you. We're getting even closer now.
Oh yes, it's Mummy Brown. Hello.
We have a Facebook user who is saying hello.
Thank you, my dear.
We will figure that one out. And then, of course, good morning from the lovely Debbie, which, yeah, it's going to be, what, round about 8 o'clock in the morning for Debbie.
Oh, wow, yes.
And a good afternoon here, which I can see at Facebook user is me, which is Jen. Hey, Jen.
Oh, cool. AD and Glenda Marie, hello from Australia. It's 1 a.m.
So saying hi, we worked together on Monday morning. Actually, bless her, a lovely lady. Going to be seeing her again on Monday if anyone's interested. You know, she can't get away from me. Bless her heart. And Margaret Atherton, hi there to you. We're being told off. We're not allowed any more days off. He's just going to go and sort the dogs out. So yes, it's good to have you here, darling. You're all very, very welcome. We've got some icons there that we don't know what we are, but we will have a look on Facebook and see what they are.
Yes, we will have a look.
Now, Debbie and Kaz are probably going to have a chat amongst themselves. And then, of course, you did mention Adie's here. Good to see you, mate. Christine Davis is joining us.
Yeah.
And yes. Stace, good to see you. Yeah, it's she changed the name to help you out. And it is, you know, one of the things that I love about Two Revs, other than working with yourself, of course, which is number one, is the way everyone, you know, interacts. It's not just a conversation with us, it's a conversation with each other, which is so special and so important. Eunice, hello, my lovelies, from Tony and Eunice, they're in the middle of a field. You might have to elaborate.
I need to know more.
It could be dowsing. It could be detectoring. They could be recreating their own Glastonbury.
Battle reenactments.
Battle reenactment. I think it might be one of the first two, but I could be wrong. But no, it's brilliant. Yes, I'm reminded.
Yes,
I am reminded. The day is coming. You're soon going to be in Littleport, mate. Again.
I know. Can't wait.
Third time.
Can we have a plug for the T-shirt printing company again?
You most certainly can. The link you require, and I hope.
We had a scrolly thing, didn't we?
Yes, we did, and there she blows. Nick's organised. Something's wrong with the universe. Make most of it. Don't happen very often.
Stairs. I like stairs. I could do with being in the middle of a field right now so I can have a damn good scream and get rid of the stress.
Yeah.
Can we make it a big field? And I can think of a few people who might be standing in there having a paddy kicking and screaming.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It seems to tie in sometimes with the weather, doesn't it? When the high pressure is floating above us, it is like, you're getting ready for the boom of the thunderbolts and lightning. Very, very frightening me, Galileo.
Yeah. Karen's got the T-shirt on right now, and Eddie's still waiting for his.
And his will arrive. I've not seen one not arrive yet. They're a good firm. They are. They really, really are. And I'm not just saying that because Tony and Eunice are watching from the middle of the field. And yes, we can all scream together. We'll scream together. Bom, bom. So, my lovely people, hello. I know there are more people watching because I can see the number. Camping for a dog show. See, I did get it wrong. It wrong. There we go.
Jan's in Sheffield.
Jan's in Sheffield. Lovely. I think Debbie wants to come and have a scream.
Yeah.
Yes. Debbie needs a T-shirt. You definitely do.
Definitely
do.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, so what have you been up to this week, sir?
It's actually been really quite busy. Stuart Bradley. Now, there's a name I haven't seen in a while. Hello, mate. Good to see you. Welcome along. So I've been doing the usual of the workshops. Now, on Monday, I was with the lovely Glenda Marie on SBTV. Wednesday, I was with the lovely Debbie on her page, Transcend with Debbie. Obviously, last night was the church service. Wonderful medium last night. Lovely, lovely guy, Michael Gooch. What a wonderful, wonderful night we had. It was so uplifting to, see someone who we were talking afterwards. He's only been on the platform 4 times now. He's been practicing for years. So don't get me wrong, he's been working really, really hard, but it's his 4th time on the platform, and he did himself and Spirit very, very proud. And it's good to see new mediums having the courage to come out on the platform, get on with the work, do the work of Spirit, and just bringing joy and love and upliftment to the world. So that was obviously last night, and along with that, I've been, printing badges and CDs and writing, all the usual.
Yeah.
I'm shopping this morning, of course. But what about yourself?
We've been doing lots of stuff for the Rainbow Project. We've been out doing meetings and talking to people and meeting new people in need of help. Been doing a little bit of writing and stuff myself. Just, putting my hand out there. Crocheting, as you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's been good. looking forward to coming down. I've got something in a couple of weeks, actually. I'm going to see this church. It's a lovely little place. I've been a couple of times, you know, down the road a bit. So we're looking forward to that. Everything's booked. We've got the travel lodge booked for myself, Michael, Jean, and Nicola.
Fabulous.
So we will all be landing. We'll all be landing. Eunice, sorry, just noticed. Ada, your T-shirt was posted 2 weeks ago. Oh,
so we'll send another on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So it's obviously got lost in the post.
Oh,
you know, I find the post really, really difficult these days. I've had a few rows myself, but you know,
it's been weird.
It has. So yes,
busy but productive, Stace. You're right. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, we're told.
Oh, and breakfast, Linda, of course.
Because last year we went out for breakfast. I think it's probably going to be a bigger table this time.
Yeah. Very nice food. Very nice food.
It's the wonderful thing that I think that is really important about any group or organization that comes together for common cause and purpose. The only cause and purpose. And the social side is quite valuable, nay, significantly vital to bring people together to build that community up by not just being about the work, because in essence, though, it is about the work, because we are told that life is for the living and that life is the lesson and that we must, you know, live our lives. So building that sense of community, coming together, having a bit of a giggle, enjoying ourselves, that is part of the work. Or you know,
from my perspective, with shush, there's a guy walking past. Will not be long. From having both hats on, both organisations I work with, the church and the Rainbow Project, whilst they are very, very different beasts, and for, I was going to say quite different purposes, but they're not really. It's the same sort of thing. It's supportive. It's helping. But what we always say when we're telling people what we do for the Rainbow Project, etc., is we'll do socials, we'll do craft night, we'll do food nights on a Tuesday, but they are mechanisms to get people to be busy doing something else when they relax and start talking. And once they start relaxing and talking, you really find out what's going on. You get underneath the skin and the nitty-gritty. And that's what's important. And I think bringing that back to the Spiritualist Alliance and us and churches, and a lot of churches I've been in, the actual ministry happens either before the service or after the service, when people are sat communing, talking, getting that support, getting that sense of community. And just look here, we are America, Australia, we're everywhere, but people are talking and communicating and supporting each other, finding out what's going on in each other's lives and helping where we can. I think we are going to need a bigger table.
We
need to book the whole restaurant, but no, it's that sense of community that's where the work happens, and that's where the true ministry work, the work of spirit, happens. Before a service, after a service, when people are linking and communicating and joining together in a common purpose. And yeah, I agree with everything you're saying.
Stacey, not everybody always understands where the conversation's going. So just to explain this one, Stacey said that I can't wait to start meeting everyone in person, and Karen then replied with, "Are you going, Stacey?" Followed up with, "Of course, loving the nails this week, Tone." We are indeed. Going where and when? So Tony hinted at it with a bit of a giggle. Tony is coming to serve Littleport 27th.
Yep. Karen's just put it in.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, it's scary. I'm actually remembering things these days. I think something's wrong with me. But yes, on the 27th, Tony is serving Littleport, and all those that are, you know, in the closest vicinity are trying to get as close, you know, to the extent that people are wondering if we've got enough seats for the 27th
event.
I happen to know, only because I've been doing a bit of research for someone else this week, that Littleport Village Hall can seat 250 people. So we will have to be careful. But yeah, so no, Stace can't make it, unfortunately. I mean, I would imagine it's quite a distance, because obviously Stace is up your...
Stace isn't far from me.
Yeah. So,
South Yorkshire.
But if anyone is near Littleport, 27th of July, come and meet me and Tony, and everyone at Littleport.
Yes.
The congregation are a gorgeous bunch.
They
we have a giggle, and as Mum quite rightly pointed out, she usually gets home at midnight Thursdays. In actual fact, it was 10 to midnight last night when we got home. The service finished at 9:15.
It's a wonderful group, though. They are such lovely people. They really are. And it's such a warm and loving welcome every time I've been. It's been brilliant. Hi, Lorraine Clark. Sorry I can't serve you tomorrow. We're at Bridlington Pride, and then there's a bit of a do afterwards. So we're going to. It's their second Pride.
Really?
Yes. So
wow. Excited. And yeah, Karen is flying down from Scotland. Bless her heart.
I believe that.
Someone is flying across basically the whole country, 3/4 maybe, just to come and see us. Isn't that nice? It's just it still takes a lot of sinking in, you know, that someone would want to see us that much that they would fly to see it. So Jan Faraday, Littleport is right. If you, I'm going to tell it the way I normally do, because let's face it. If you look at the country, and East Anglia is kind of like the bum cheek of the UK.
It is, yeah.
We are right in the middle of the bum cheek of the UK. It makes it sound bad, but it's not that bad. But no, we are 14 miles away from We're about 20 miles from Cambridge, 4 miles from Ely, and about 25 miles from Kings Lynn. So we're kind of like halfway in the middle.
Jan in Sheffield. I'm sure Jan said she was in Sheffield.
Jan did say she's in Sheffield.
It's about 2 hours 20 minutes from us. I drive straight down the A1M and come that way, and it takes me about 2 hours 20 minutes. And we've just booked a travel lodge just outside of Ely,
next to my old stomping ground.
It is literally in the car park.
Yeah. This is the thing. You have to drive past the back of my old shop to get where you're staying. So it's really quite straight. I spent like 10 years there, I think.
Yeah, but no, I can't believe we're doing a 2 Revs live.
I know that. Yeah. What have they let themselves in for?
I know.
But the good news is we broadcast, Jan, just so you know, we do broadcast every service at Littleport on a Thursday night, so people can see it, be part of it, join in, chat away. So you'll still be able to see us. It's just it'll be like this. And if you've got YouTube on your telly, you can watch us on your telly, because somebody's doing it.
I watch Nick on the telly. I watch Nick on the telly. But yeah, I recognise some of this lot.
Hello, Eddie. Good to see you again. Yes. So this is what we do. We have a chat. We have a guest. But everyone at home, please remember, this is your convert. Absolutely, I know my love. take the opportunity for those that are new, you know.
Plug.
I do recognise you, Jan. I certainly do. But yeah, this is your show. This is for you. You lead the conversation. So ask us questions, bring up topics of conversation. Whatever you want to talk about, we will talk about. I think we've probably talked about Littleport enough.
Maybe. But still, you know, if it gets bums on seats.
Well, yeah,
that's the important thing. Talking about bums on seats, it's really, really strange. The last few services I've done, I've started to notice that churches are either getting really, really busy, or they're dying on their feet. And the committees are doing a lot of really good work, but nothing seems to be working. There's just not the footfall coming through the door. And yet, like I said, randomly, other centres and churches are rammed, absolutely rammed. I mean, Jeans is doing so well up in Thurcroft. It's a centre. It's because it's a miners' welfare hall owned by the community. They can't hold a church in there. They can't be affiliated to any religious organisation. So it's a centre in name only. I mean, everything she does is for spirit, for God. So it's just really, really odd. It seems to be really polarised at the minute. I don't know if you're finding that, Nick. That
I see it.
It's weird.
I suppose from my perspective, because I'm now getting out there more than I have been in previous years, you know, going and serving other churches and new churches that I've never served before, churches that have been going for years that I've been aware of but never been able to get to, it is very polarized, and it's either one thing or the other, not very much in between. And you know, I think a lot of the problem stems perhaps from an understanding of what spiritualism is, how perhaps it is portrayed, but also one common theme, we've already mentioned it tonight, is the social side. The churches that I go to that have got big numbers are the ones that stay behind after, have a chat, have a cup of tea, you know, have a packet of biscuits on the side, get involved, get engaged with each other. The churches where the numbers aren't, you know, and this is a very broad generalization and is not specific in any way, shape or form, because as I said, there's a lot of, it's a spectrum rather than a thing, but the polarization exists. The more social, the more busy. The less social, the less busy. To be fair, the pandemic may well have had a big impact on that, because the way churches operated massively changed after the pandemic, and you don't always see the change back afterwards, because there are still you know, very often in many different areas, you know, you'll see, and not just churches, but in many different areas, you'll see chairs arranged in the groups of the people as though we're still bubbling, and it's sometimes people wanting to protect themselves and each other. That's absolutely fine, but when you see a church that's kind of gone back to pre-COVID action and interaction, I think that's where some of the difference lies. And again, that of course is a generalization.
Yeah, I get you. But I think the other thing I've started to notice is, and it's not something I was looking for, it just seems to have been like something that crept into my consciousness, is where things have progressed in terms of moved with the times a little bit, and the church is more engaged, or the centre is more engaged around the community and doing more stuff out there. That's where they're picking up, where they're doing we have a hymn, then a reading, then a da 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 da, and then it's like, right, there is a cup of tea if you want it, but you're not really made to feel like you want to hang around because it feels like the committee want to get off and watch Coronation Street or whatever it is. You know, it's that type of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, we are here to do this service, and that's the end of. That's another one where I feel that's the part of the problem. But it's oh, sorry, I just saw Shelley's comment. I was trying to read it, but it's a bit long. And Eddie said he would convert for a free custard cream.
Absolutely. Wouldn't we all, darling? You know, I think I did when I was a teenager, but that's another story for another day.
But no, it is very much about engagement, and that's what I love about what we do. It's we go beyond. It's not like we are here for services of mediumship, which is vitally important to bring comfort from the world of spirit, but it's the wider aspect of church being part of, or religion being part of your life and your lifestyle and what you do. So yeah. It's Shelley's a question: how do you stick to your guns with parenting when others think you're being sister over something I said no to, and I feel that's a complex one.
I'm going to say I'm certainly no guide on parenting.
Well, we co-parented, Michael, myself, and Ben's mum. The thing is, you've got to stick to your guns. You've said it yourself. You stick to your guns, because we always said, if the first parent says no, don't bother going to the other two, because that's the answer. We stuck by a rule. And if your boy thinks you're being unreasonable, that's part of being a child and a teenager. I don't know how old your son is, but it's just part of life. Kids kicking back and saying, "Oh, I hate you." They've all done it. We've all done it. I did it. But part of being a parent is understanding that you can't always be right. And what I always find is, where engaging with people, as I do on many different levels, where you try and be a friend rather than a parent, that's where it falls apart.
Doesn't always work, does it?
It doesn't. You are a parent. You have to make decisions. You have to make tough decisions, and you have to stick to it. You've got to stick to what you believe. If you start changing your mind, backing down, doing something different, what children need is consistency.
Yes, absolutely,
is what they want, and boundaries. Children need to know that there are boundaries in place. It helps them in life. You can't go to work and just go, I don't want to do that. No. But Linda, we're all protective over our children, love. Yes. But you've just got to be. You've got to be consistent, but you have to be a parent. You can't be a busy mate. Don't work. It's the same in Nick will understand that. In a workplace, you're either a boss or a friend. You can't be both.
Yeah. And do you know what? That was one that I really, really struggled with as a manager, because of who I am and the way I feel as someone who is a spiritualist, and the way I feel about humanity as a general whole. I wanted to help people. I wanted to be supportive, and sometimes that was taken advantage of very, very heavily. And you know, one of the things that I consistently got on my report card at the end of the year as a manager was needs to be firmer.
Yeah.
And you know, it is that there are paradigms within that. So I hope that helps, darling. Jan's just said some in Sheffield, talking about churches as we were, some in Sheffield are very stern and make you feel awkward. Unfortunately, my local church closed down and it was great. And you know what? That is half the problem that's so heartbreaking, is really good churches are closing down because they simply cannot afford to keep going.
No.
We are blessed in Littleport that we hire a hall, we pay a fee. All of the public liability is included, all of the electric and the water is included in that whole fee. So we just pay a flat fee, a flat fee every week. And we're lucky that we can, wipe a face. But a lot of places, especially, and once again, pre-pandemic, there were a lot of places that owned their own premises, and that whole emptiness of churches really hit hard because you do see a natural life cycle in a church over the course of a year of a bit quieter at the winter because of late nights and distance traveled, and then a bit bolder in the summer months because it's brighter and lighter, and then waning back down again. So you make the hay while the sun shines to pay for your gap, but nobody was prepared for basically a 2-year gap.
No.
And although there were things around to help and support, it was never going to be able to be enough because it was so unique, and people are still playing catch up even now. So yeah, I'm with you, Jan. It was horrendous to see good churches closing because they can't afford to keep the doors open. And you know what? I think part of that is the financial thing, because the good churches don't take the mick out of you.
No,
so they haven't got a huge bucket loads of money sitting behind them. They'll have money set aside for building funds if that's what they've got. They'll have money set aside for repairs if they've got their own building. But other than that, the good churches, they don't take tea, and so they're not loaded. And so when something hits, it hits hard, which is a terrible, terrible shame. Well, I just got a bit behind now.
We had some starred comments, I noticed.
Yes. And
Eddie had a flat with fleas.
And Eddie had a flat with, I just caught up with that one. So yeah, Karen, I hope that helped to all of you, by the way. Karen, question: what life lessons did you learn the hard way?
Wow. I think, like you said, Nick, when we had our own business, learning that you can't be everybody's friend. Sometimes you've got to be a boss.
Yeah.
That's a hard one to learn. And also learning that you can't please all the people all the time. That you've got to sometimes just accept that to do what you need to do and to be who you need to be, some people are going to walk away, and there's nothing you can do about that. That's another one, I think. How about you, Nick?
Well, yeah, I definitely second that. Obviously, I mentioned about work and everything, and it does carry over in my whole life. I mean, I've been accused of many things in my life, and a saviour complex is one of them, because I think everyone is worthy of help and support. But then the hardest part of that is accepting that not everybody's ready for whatever support it is that you are offering, and someone else might be more appropriate for the time, for the situation, and what we bring as individuals to the table might not be what is appropriate for everyone at the table. But having said that, having the courage and confidence to be steadfast in your own beliefs in the face of adversity, and confidence and courage in your own emotions and feelings to carry on. One of the hardest lessons I learned, certainly as a teenager, was actually just getting up in the morning and carrying on. And I think a lot of people, certainly some of those that I know, as well as those that I'm getting to know, who join us every week on here, that's going to be a big one. Being able to keep getting up in the morning and carrying on in spite of it all can be such a hard thing. But then if we stop, if we give up, if we lose that courage to keep going and being ourselves, then what is the point? You know, we have got to carry on. You know, I quote Sir Arthur Conan Doyle when he went to his last event as a spiritualist quite often. Actually, I think I did it last night, to be fair. You know, I quote that one so often, and it's so easy to feel like it's banging your head against a brick wall when you keep having to say it, but it is so true. And there were so many layers in what he said. He said, carry on, take the word out of spirit into the world, and never give an inch. Because the minute you start giving an inch, people will take that ground. So you have to be respectful of boundaries, but protect your own. You know, everyone has boundaries, everyone has limits, and everyone has borders. But the minute your boundaries start to encroach upon other people's, you've got to consider, you know, what it is that you're doing. And it's so easy to fall into this whole tit for tat thing. And I don't do tit for tat. You know, I can't stand it. But you know, it doesn't mean to say that I've got to give up my own thoughts and feelings just like anybody else. You know, everyone has a right to be equally heard and voiced, and the minute you think that your words are greater than anyone else, it's the beginning of the end.
I couldn't agree more with that. It's so important to make people feel validated, and that sort of starts to tie in with Karen's question about what advice would you give people who haven't come out and don't know where to turn, thinking it's what we've just been saying, Karen, about you have to live your truth and your life. This isn't a dress rehearsal. But having said that, it's every individual's journey, and you need to do what's right for you when it's right for you. It can be very easy for people to say, oh God, look, we're all out, we're doing well, you should tell people you are gay or you are whatever. No, you will tell people when you're ready to tell people. You probably will be surprised at how many people just go, oh, at last, thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
But it's something you've got to do, and you know when the time is right for you to do it, because it can get to you. It can feel like this huge burden that you're carrying around with you, and if the person you're talking about is feeling like you've said they're having these thoughts, then there are people they can talk to if they want to talk to. I know I'm waving my other hat about now, but the Rainbow Project, we work with people all over the place. We've worked with people in Southampton, all over the country. We can have remote conversations with you, and we will support you. We will support the person you're talking about, if that's what they want. But it is, do it in your own time, because if you do it when you're not ready, it can do a lot more damage than good. And just there are people to talk to. There are people.
Absolutely.
If you want to talk to somebody from the spiritualist perspective, we're all here.
Yeah. Absolutely. I totally agree, and I can't add anything that would be of value, because at the end of the day, you're absolutely right. And I think it's important for people to be able to see that they're not alone. You know, it's not so much adding, but putting a bow on, because, you know, of what you've just said. And I think it's so essential that people just keep talking. You know, it's good to talk. You know, it might be an old advert, but it's still valid. Just want to quickly mention Margaret Atherton's comment, which is really, really a good point. We hold our services on Zoom, and we now have an international congregation. We feel that spiritualism is reaching out as it should. absolutely, totally agree. We do need as a way of life to move with the times completely. And, you know, as much as the pandemic has impacted in a negative way in many ways, the good way is the ability to communicate all around the world. I mean, we've gone to every corner of the earth today with some of our guests, you know, with Debbie on the west coast of America, with Glenda in Australia, you know, and everywhere in between. It's just, and we wouldn't be able to do that if it wasn't for the technology available that has been able to reach people. We started broadcasting our services, not because of the pandemic, of course, but because Wendy, bless her, was unable to leave the house. And so to make sure she was a part of the congregation, she got to watch some of it online, and you know, we've just carried on from there. So yeah, with you, Margaret. Really good question here from Eddie. How do you deal with those in the community who just don't get it or even fear it? And I'm assuming that's spiritualism. Although, you know what, regardless of the topic, it does, you know, it ties in beautifully. So thank you, Eddie. Your thoughts, Tony?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because we, like the ISA Rainbow Project, two completely different aspects, but all dealt with in the same way. We welcome everybody, everybody, no matter who, what your beliefs, what your faiths, what sexuality, gender, whatever else. You can walk through the door and have a cup of coffee and an natter and everything else that goes with it. And I think it's the same thing by, and I don't mean exposing yourself in the bad way, I mean by exposing who you are and your truth to people, then you conquer that fear, you get people engaged and talking, which is something we were talking about earlier, about mechanisms, about getting people doing things and talking, and they get to know you and they get to understand what you are, what you're about, whether it be your sexuality, your gender, your religion, your faith, spiritualism, whatever. That's how and I know Nick deals with these things. And it's about having honest and frank conversations. And no matter what age, we have been lucky. We've got a really good friend and we watched her twin boys and young daughter grow up. And Claire's always said, if the kids are old enough to ask you the question, they deserve an age-appropriate answer, which is the same with everything. I've had conversations with the boys about my sexuality, our beliefs, our faiths, and it's very much about all sorts of things. I mean, it was actually one of the boys who said, we've been doing the Bible stuff and you're a reverend, aren't you? I was like, yes, where's this going? And he said, well, Tony, though, isn't the Bible just lots of different stories about not being a killer? And it's like, yeah, basically it is. And it's very much about talk to people, have honest conversations. People say to me, oh, aren't you a bit deluded and dangerous if you think you can talk to dead people? Have a conversation with me. You know, that's how it is. And Jesus was the same. Tell your truth, tell your stories, and look.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. You know, I think you also have to be aware that although I believe the vast majority of the world, and I genuinely believe the vast majority of the world, whatever the subject, will be open to frank and engaging conversation, and although may still never agree with your viewpoint will be open to your entitlement to one, and you know, accept that it's perhaps not as bad as they thought. There are going to be people that's minds will never be changed, and once again it's about accepting that we can't open every pair of eyes to our truth, because some thoughts are so ingrained in people's minds, that they are so staunch in their views, that they will never budge to allow an openness to other people's mindsets. But I still believe the vast majority of people are. Perfect example today. I've got to be honest with you, this is hilarious. I went into the bank, you know, doing my usuals. And you know, the young lad behind the counter goes, "What's that on your badge?" So I went, "Oh, what? It's the symbol for the church that I'm a part of, the Independent Spiritualist Alliance." And he goes, "Isn't that all that spooky stuff?"
That's us.
That's us. Now, at that point, there's two directions that this can go. Either, "Oh my God, I want to know about it," or, "Oh my God, you're one of them." And how often do I hear that phrase, loves? You know, but you can't react to that question, because if you react expecting the negative, you will get the negative back. But if you, yes, absolutely, and just be so plain and honest and open about who and what you are, you'll be surprised by the reaction, because the first thing he said after that was, "Oh my God, I was reading about that on the internet today, and I'd love to know more. Have you got a card?" And you know, yeah, there you go. And it's a conversation. And that's how the world can be helped, that's how the world can be fixed, just by talking and being open about your truth, and being open to the fact that other people have a truth. Now, Daniel, I love you with all my heart. I don't believe in God, but I believe spiritualism is real. Now, there would be those that would question that, but that's your relationship with whatever it is that drives this universe, and that's your conversation, and you know, I believe that people who feel like that are the part of the universe, divine source, whatever you want to call it, who's so frustrated with the ideology that's been attributed to that particular being, and all of the different labels and attitudes that are very human have been put on that being. You know, so you are the universe made manifest, rebelling against all of that rubbish. So frankly, I'm sure that whoever and whatever is up there would say go for it, because you believe in what's going on, you've seen your evidence. And when that message comes, that's not for me to tell you what it is, that's for you to enjoy and explore. And I think it's essential that people have the freedom to be open to what they want to be open to, so long as it's respectful, kind, open, courteous, and honest. That is all I will ever ask anyone to be and do in my orbit. You know, there's a I always remember that advert from when I was a kid. I can't remember the name of the actor. He looked quite handsome then, but he's a little bit older now, and you know, time hasn't been as kind to him as it has to other people. And it was a beer advert, and he said, my body is my temple. That's why I leave the boots on the outside." And we are our church. We are our connection to whatever that entity, energy, source, or creation is, whatever you want to call it. It's your, you know, for example, you know, there are various different ways that people address each other. There's been numerous on here today. Rev Tony, Tony, Tone, Matey, mate. You know, we all address each other in different ways. And why should God be any different? You know, because the way you address someone is based on your relationship with that.
Absolutely. And that's what we as a church want to do, to help you to give you the best relationship with that divine source, spirit, that we can. And I just wanted to pick up Eddie's, I just convert the energy of words now. It's not worth getting flustered. Yep. Take it on board.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I've got to say, you know, Stay says, I believe God is an energy of divine source, but not a physical being. Absolutely agree with you. Now there's a conversation going on here that I'd like to join in with. And I will express my personal opine on that, but it's only mine. Daniel says, I've seen evidence through readings. That's why I believe in spiritualism. I've never seen proof of God. And then Eunice has jumped in because I knew she would. Daniel, Tony says he's with you on that 100%. Tony is our healing leader. I think sometimes, and I'm not saying that it is this time, no, absolutely. And you know what I was going to say is, it depends what people view God as. It really, really does, because, you know, our good friends in Christianity have an image, but movies and TV and fiction and literature really hasn't helped the case, because everyone perceives God as being some kind of formed being, be it a man on a throne with a beard, or be it some presence within a light, or, you know, or if you go down the Star Trek view, you know, a ring of stones with a big glowy head in the middle. That sounds just more like a bad trip to me. For me, you know, the more we attribute physical aspects to what God is, the further away we come from what it actually is. You know, if the universe is a machine, God's the battery. You know, we are, as someone pointed out earlier, we are the cogs and the spools and the wheels and the dials. But and I think I'm actually now already answering, because this is mine. In how do I perceive God? I see God as being the battery that drives the universe. Yes, it has some level of emotion, but you know, Graham Greene said you cannot conceive the great majesty of God. I think he was crawling up someone's backside, actually, but he had a point in the sense that, you know, we cannot conceive what God is. We just have a knowledge of it, a feeling of it being there. And the more we try and push our views on what God is onto other people, the more we're preventing other people from being able to explore that relationship, because the God, the divine source that I worship is an infinite presence of energy. And if you try and put limits on infinity, it's not infinity anymore. So, you know, God can be whatever it needs to be to you on many levels. And I think the more we try and put a shape, a form, a name, or an identity to it, the further away we're becoming from what it actually is. And so I think, you know, a lot of cultural, pop culture and literature in particular, Milton's got a lot to answer for, but all of these different writers over time who've put a face to God have got a lot to answer to, because it is that face that people are rebelling against. It is that image that people are rebelling against, because I've heard that phrase so many times: that is not my God. Because the God that I pray to, the God that I worship, the God that I follow, doesn't have form, doesn't have substance, has some level of emotion that we cannot properly conceive, because it is outside of our form and function as physical beings. But at the end of the day, is present, if not, you know, active, you know, and allowing us to unfold our lives. So this image of a controlling being that you know, sits and judges over us is going to wind people up. It did me. That's why I left Christianity completely and became a Christian spiritualist, because combining those two views of love and understanding and compassion, and a divine being that watches over us but can't really do too much, that's my view of what God is, but not within any form and remit. And so if that's the case, you're not going to see much evidence because we don't entirely know what we're looking for. But that is what the faith part of religion is for, of accepting that there's something, even if we're not entirely sure what it is. And that again is really hard for some people, and they shouldn't be having that forced upon them until they find that identity. But I've ranted now, so I'll shut up for a minute because I'm going a bit dry.
No, I do agree that God is beyond our understanding, and yeah, Michael, God may have started the system running, but are they watching it?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they are, and that's why when people say to me, I think I saw a comment from Karen earlier about I hated God for taking somebody I loved away from me. We do, but God doesn't take that person back. We return when our time is right, and it's that's the important thing for me, is that it's, I always say, and it was something I heard which I thought was beautiful, when somebody asks this particular person, I can't remember who told me it now, but they were asked, if there is a God, why did my whatever die of cancer, and why did they give my loved one cancer? And the answer is, cancer is our body's system attacking itself. God is not in the cancer. God is in our reaction to the cancer, and God is in the Macmillan nurses who look after you, the surgeons. That's where God is, and God is in the support you get after the transition of your loved one and everything. That's where God is, and that's what, as a spiritualist, it took me a little bit to get my head around that fact, that, you know, and as a minister, I feel that is my job, is to bring the love of God to you when it's darkest in your life.
Yes. Yeah.
Much like we say about, I know I've gone on about it a bit, the Rainbow Project. It's lovely when we don't see people for a while, because that means their lives are okay and they're getting on with it and they don't need us. But then they come back, and that's what ministry is. It's about being there for people when they need you to be.
Yeah.
And for me, that's my vision of God anyway. So there we are.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. I mean, I've said it 1,001 times, and I'm sure people are getting bored of it, but our job as ministers is to be there to help people understand God when they form their own relationship with it, not actually tell people what that relationship is.
No,
and
absolutely. And I would never tell Daniel,
no,
there is a God.
No,
because that's
absolutely.
that's not our job to do.
No,
it's about bringing you the evidence, and letting you form your own opinions and thoughts about that. People will get through life never knowing God, never knowing their God. That's their relationship. That's shut up, Rupert. He's having his say. Karen, I know life does not make sense. But people will have their own journeys through life, and their own experiences, and their own pain and their own suffering. And I honestly feel that you just need to pray for those who need it, and look for the light in things rather than seeking out the darkness all of the time. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, darling, at all. I'm not saying that. It's just when you are in that space and you're grieving and you're in pain and you're hurting, it's natural to go through the stages of grief. It is. And it doesn't mean that you've gone through these emotions and processes, and that's it, job done. No, you can revisit, you can go back, you get stuck in some places. I've done it myself. I've been stuck in a certain headspace and I just can't shift it. But that's what we're here for. We're here to help, to talk, to chuck a text at you and say, hey, you okay? But it is that anger that we feel about, well, how is that fair? How is that fair? How is it fair that this person is comfortable in prison after doing whatever they've done, and my loved one's suffering in a hospital bed somewhere? That's not fair. It isn't.
Yeah.
We can't answer that. Like we said, God is not in that illness, in that disease, in that pain. God is in your reaction to it and how we can come together as a community to support each other through these dark times.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just so easy to look for explanations where there really aren't any.
Yeah. And do you know what? I think that's the biggest problem, mate. And it goes back to what Eunice said about labels and you know, when we were talking about how we identify what God is. There are some things we're never going to know, and I think God is one of them. Certainly in the physical world, we never can truly know, you know, what God. I don't think the question is there or isn't there. For me, it's what is it? Now, there will be is or isn't there will be the question for other people, and that's part of their journey as a being on the planet. For me, I've come to the what is it part of the question. And you know, I don't think it's a question that can ever be answered. And there are so many things in this world that cannot be answered. And we find it comforting to put explanations to everything. There's got to be an answer for everything. But like you said, mate, there really isn't always an answer. And sometimes we just have to hope that we're doing the best we can and that things are unfolding as they should, in spite of, and you know, in the face of that difficulty. And it's rough sometimes. It really is.
It really is. And grief and loss can turn you one of two ways. And it was through grief and loss that I came back to church and found God, because I knew I needed something at a time when I felt so bad that was the only place I thought I could go. And Evelyn says, my father still won't talk to me because I cremated my brother. We all have our own thoughts and wishes about what we want doing with the vessel once we go home to God. It's hard. You did what you felt was best for your brother. It may have been what your brother wanted. I don't know. You don't say. But there are a lot of faiths that don't like cremation for one reason or another. But you do what you feel is best. And that's what I think is important with this whole process. I know we're going down a whole different rabbit hole again, but here we are.
Oh yes,
I find myself here. There's a lovely lady that does some YouTube stuff. She's called Caitlin Doherty. She's in America, and she has the Order of the Good Death. And her thing is, we have to own it. It is going to happen. It's going to happen to us at some point. It's going to happen to all of us, and to own it and to talk about it and to tell your loved ones what you want, what you feel you need to happen with your body once your soul has left it. For me, it's not. I don't need it anymore. So you can do what you want with it. Personally, I would just have one of these. What are they called? Cremate and go type things, where you get picked up and a bucket of ashes come back in a week's time or whatever. That would do me. Then have a party or whatever you want to do. Do nothing. It's up to you. But that's what's important, to voice what you want.
Yes.
And to let your loved ones know what you want, so that you don't have these situations where it's, but he didn't want to be with the worms. Evelyn, I hear that.
Yeah.
What your brother wanted, then.
And this is the thing. I hate fire. I'm scared stiff of fire, and yet I want to be cremated, not buried.
Yeah.
Because the whole idea of being stuck underground, even though I know that I ain't going to be using the damn thing, I'm still fretting about what's going to happen to it,
Yeah.
But we become attached to this thing because we are attached to it, at the end of the day. Speaking of being attached, just a little bit of a notice here. Daniel, you have not missed it. It's on the 27th of July. So you haven't missed it yet, mate.
No.
And there was something else that I did start just as a bit of a giggle, because I didn't notice it and thought it would be a bit uplifting. It looks like I'm being blessed by that light coming down on my head. Just it's
coming for you.
Watching. I've obviously said the wrong thing today. But yeah, it is. We do fret about so many things.
We do. My dad's just said we're not even having a party. Dad, you may not be, but we are. We are. Francis was cremated so I could keep him with me. Linda, that's beautiful. That really is.
Yeah, he's in the cupboard beside her right now.
Oh, bless.
Keeping an eye.
Do you guys and gals believe in euthanasia? There's a whole can of worms.
Yeah, that certainly is.
Is that a topic for a podcast at some point?
I think it might be, because that is literally a can of worms that would take us another hour.
Yes.
We're actually coming close to the end already, and I think it deserves more time than.
I really do, Daniel. Please email it to us or message it across to us so we keep a tab on it. But that is a big one, and it is a huge debate at the minute, and it's something it was really interesting, Nick. I did death, dying and bereavement as a topic as part of my degree.
Yes, you did.
And a Macmillan nurse came in, and that was one of the pieces of homework she gave us, was to debate this topic. And she asked the class, just as a poll, who agrees, who doesn't agree. So I stick my hand up for my side of it, and she says, right, well, you're actually arguing the opposite. So I need you to research, find stats, and argue the opposite point. And that was really interesting, really interesting. But I do feel it's a justified question, and it's something that, from like the religious perspective, the faith aspect, I've got one sort of view, and then from a humanistic point of view, I have another point of view, but it's something I do have quite strong feelings about, and I do feel we need to do it justice, Daniel. So I'm not dodging the question. I'm just saying, please message it across so we can really get our teeth into it and do it some justice.
I think, to be fair, in fact, quite the opposite of dodging it. We want to give it the time that it's worthy and deserving of, because it would be something, that really needs the care and attention and time given to it as a discussion. We are coming towards the end of our gathering, because it's now 5:15, believe it or not, already. But on the subject of cremation, if you've never seen the remains of someone that's been cremated before, it can be quite strange. And we just want to share this little one with you, because the first ashes remains that I ever saw was actually Dad's, up close and personal. And I went, and everyone who knows I've got a bit of a sick sense of humor, and so has Dad. I went to collect him, and I was feeling a little bit unsure and a little bit unnervous. And I went in, and they said, "We've got your father here for you." And they put this tiny little cardboard box on the desk, and all I could hear was him saying, "Well, I've lost a lot of weight then." And I couldn't help but say it out loud, and I felt really, really bad. But then as I was about to leave, I went to pick it up, and it was so much heavier than I thought it was going to be. It was really, really heavy. And I went to pick it up, and I went, "Oh, maybe not." Well, the undertaker was literally wetting herself with what I was saying. But we actually went for a drive, and I went and had a burger with him at the burger van on the way home. We took a tour of burger vans because he was obsessed with burgers. So he sat on the passenger seat, and I had a burger. And do you know what? I think he'd have been happy with that. If everyone sat down and had a burger. As with all things, I think everything should be tailored and designed around the individual. So as much as it's a hard conversation, Tony is absolutely right. People need to know what you want and need as part of your celebration of life. And apparently there is quite a lot of people in cupboards in living rooms.
I was getting that vibe. It's like, okay. I was giving a lady a private sit-in, and I was aware it was husband that came through just quickly, because I know we are at time. And he was talking about being claustrophobic, and I said, "Did he suffer with claustrophobia? Because he's telling me he's claustrophobic." And he said, "Well, he didn't in life, but he might be now because he's next to you in the bureau." And she had the writing desk, and the bit that comes down where you're sitting right. He was tucked in there, and I was like, "Oh well, there you go."
Yeah,
it's claustrophobic, but there you go. You've got all your dogs. My friend Jean has all of the dogs on a unit.
Absolutely. This is public now, so everyone knows what I want doing. And I used to joke about it, but apparently people have been doing it now, and it is a thing. So I want cremating, and I want my ashes put into a bright pink firework, and I want it launched during a rainstorm, so that I can come down in the rain on top of everyone and say, "No, you're stuck with me."
Well, another friend of mine went, and they wanted to go and have a picnic to scatter Nan, and they went and they sat on this hill overlooking the city of Sheffield as she wanted, and they went to scatter Nan, and the wind blew her back over the sandwiches. And I said, "Oh God, what did you do then?" And he said, "Well, we dusted them off and we ate them. We ate the sandwiches." So I was like, okay.
At least they got to be part of the picnic.
The crunchy bits you were hoping was eggshells then. Shelley's got Dad's ashes tattooed into her neck. I've heard a lot of I like my loved ones close, but I'm not quite sure I want them that close.
in your blood.
No, never mind. But what a fabulous conversation we've done.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Do you know what? I hate it when this happens.
Oh, Joanne.
We're just about to go. You're going to have to hit rewind, Joe. Come on, hit rewind. No. Don't miss out. but it is great to see everyone engaging with each other, you know, supporting each other and leading our conversations. You know, let's be honest, we turn up without a clue. We've got our ideas, but it never ends up being what we plan.
No, no.
And that's the best part of it, you know. But the fun, the humor aspect that intermingles with the serious side, which we of course have to do, it really does make a difference to us as individuals. Oh, Reverend Ashley, I'm sorry, just joined too, so we'll have to catch up. Absolutely, but that's the joy, you know. You know, if we were to sit and have this conversation in a hall or a church, you know, the words would be in people's minds that were there and heard them, but they would be forever. But at least this way, people can see what was said. Make your comments, whether you're watching live or watching later. Join in, because your thoughts make up the universe, and it always makes a difference. So get your thoughts on the screen, get your thoughts in black and white, because they are always worth it and worthwhile. And all of those different views build up the bigger picture to get closer to the truth. So God bless you all from me.
And from me. And from me. It's absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Really great.
I do love our chats. I really do.
I do too. I would miss them.
I think 3 weeks' time you'll probably be sick of the sound of my voice, though, the amount of time we'll be spending together, you know. Interestingly enough, that's a good point. Will there be a 2 Revs on the 28th of July?
I don't see why not.
Because it depends on when you're leaving, how long it takes you to get home, and when you've got to go home. We could even be in the same room.
Oh, yeah.
It depends how. We'll have to talk about that one more.
We will.
We will. But yeah, thank you ever so much for cheering me up, Tony, because it's been a bit of a tough week, to be fair.
It has, but it's what we do. It's what we do, and it's uplifted everything. And like you say, you bookend the week, though, don't you? You do the Mondays, and we finish off on the Friday afternoon.
Absolutely,
and you're more than welcome, and it's a wonderful way to start the weekend. I don't see why I wouldn't want to do it any other way now.
No, absolutely. I feel a bit lost on a Friday afternoon if we're not together, all of us. So, you know, long may we continue.
Absolutely.
Well, friends, thank you ever so much. And so, it's a good night from me.
And it's a good night from him. Good night.
God bless everyone. See you all soon. Have a wonderful week and weekend, and just live your life and be happy. God bless.
Absolutely.